Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron,
Yo.
you get to root for the greatest team in the NFL. How does it feel?
Oh, man, it feels as delicious as Uncle Jumbo's bombsicle. A couple bombsicles dropped here tonight by our Lord and Savior, Josh Allen. This is a tough game to not sound like a crazy homer. This is going to be a bit of a party post-game show here for folks. There a little bit of a cloud hanging over the game with some injury news, but before we get to injury news, we're going to drink to the victory of a 41-7 stomping in prime time football. Don't see your starters for an entire fourth quarter in week 2 of the NFL.
We were calling, fantastic. Yeah, I'll save it. I have something I'm going to save for later in the show.
Well, you and Eric were doing a live tonight. How did that go? Talk to the people. How'd that go?
It was a lot of fun. We had people coming in. Playback is a new team that we're working with that's developed a really cool software that's able to allow us to stream. It's just like the Manning cast, honestly, but with Eric and I as your commentator. So it was a ton of fun to be able to do it. So you are listening tonight because the Buffalo Bills shellacked the Tennessee Titans 41-7.
Yeah, Elliot here with a old-fashioned mollywomping.
I respect it. I like that. It's good word usage. And I like his logo too.
I think it's accurate.
Little avatar. And this game was unbelievable. Jason here was in there with us. I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun. That we enjoyed that. And honestly, I know people always ask us all the time, help us out, give us a like on this show, give us comments afterwards, comment in the YouTube. That's what helps a lot of things going on here. But we appreciate you guys so much. This has been a lot of fun. And tonight, this was all it was. It was fun. It was a fun game to be able to watch. It was constant. We'll talk about some of the injuries in a bit here, but from a performance standpoint, there honestly wasn't even that much to critique or to even bring up. And it's really hard to even find question with such a dominant game.
Yeah, I think if you really were going to nitpick anything, there was probably a couple of the drives there where Mitch Morse was out, where there's a couple bad snaps coming from that I wouldn't have wanted to go a full game in a close game with that center situation the way it was. Luckily, that wouldn't even have to have that conversation here.
It was interesting. They went straight to Van Roten versus Bates moving over.
For sure. But I think that's kind of Sean McDermott's MO, right? Like if you're a starter at a position, he wants you to play that specific thing and have that guy that is going to be that backup role. So now we know. Right.
Yeah, because we did see that with Feliciano in the past where he had kicked over. So I kind of thought that it wasn't
super pretty. I counted in just 2 drives. I counted 2 snaps. The first drive together, there was I don't know whose fault it was, but it seemed like a fumbled, miscommunicated snap there. And then one, a low snap on a shotgun play. And so I'm glad that got out of there. That could have been maybe a bigger deal. And the offense did seem to stall out a little bit when Morse wasn't there. So if nitpicking, it would probably be that drive and some of the plays for the offensive line when Morse was out. But then, I mean, other than that, it's pretty hard to find anything, at least on the surface here. I'm sure if you comb through enough, you can find something. But on the surface here, complete win. And that was all the text coming in. We're just like how deep this team is. I think you really saw it, and you even heard it in the broadcast tonight of the word suffocating was used. And I think that's true. Tonight we saw just even when injuries came up, the depth is so much better on this team than a lot of teams that they just end up suffocating you and make more plays.
Yeah, it really shows. And you talk about the domino effect of additions like Von Miller. You talk about what, shoring up that offensive line a little bit was. They didn't even touch Josh Allen until into the second half of the game here. And, being able to go along those lines, we could start right there and go over this game. Yeah. I think we're half joking before when you talked about it, but did Josh Allen solve football?
Yeah, no, I think we broke the game. I've said that like he unlocked something at some point last year, late in the season last year, and it hasn't slowed down. And until I see it slow down, I'm going to have a ridiculous double-digit confidence swagger about me going into every single football game against any single NFL team until somebody comes out, slows this guy down. You can't tell me there's a team in the league that can beat him when he's playing like this, man. And that we haven't even gotten obviously to anywhere else. But if he's playing like this, a lot of other things can go wrong. You have a lot of room for error, a lot of eraser in Josh Allen playing like this. So go on, King. Go on. Right.
And you're talking about, Josh Allen, 26 of 38, 68.4% completion percentage, 317 yards, 8.3 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 sack, a quarterback rating of 128.9. All of that was in the third quarter. They pulled him in the third quarter.
One run
for
10 yards with a hurdle. With a QB hurdle
and picking up a critical first down.
So I tweeted earlier. That's a 100% hurdle rate for Josh Allen per run. That's pretty. I think that's historic, an all-time historic hurdle rate since we've been tracking him. So keep an eye on that. That's a big one for him. But no, just unbelievable. I mean, it really couldn't be any cleaner. And a lot of these, like the incompletions don't even seem bad. He had that one bad one on a 3rd and short where the ball just came off his hand funny.
Yeah, correct. He didn't set his feet. Set his feet on the one that would have been an out to Kumaro, but then they converted on the 4th down. Yeah, anyways,
it's hard to nitpick and find anything. And I think Miami fans got real big in their britches this weekend, and they deserve it. And I'm glad for them, and they have their flowers and stuff like that. But they got real big in their britches. And I think tonight was a bit of a reminder of what the big boy quarterbacking in the NFL is now, what the standard is now. Like, good for you. That was a great game for you guys, but like Josh Allen's on a whole nother level of commanding the football game. Like, this was never out of it was going to be a boat race from the start once you saw the way Josh was playing.
Yeah, it was like how it's. Oh, that's nice for you. Like, that's nice for you. Like,
even when Tennessee came out and scored first,
the answer.
You see the way that this team's able to answer and continue to go on in a game. And if Josh is going to continue to go out and put up drives where the only thing stopping him is themselves, that they kind of fumbled up, that
rushed, probably should have taken a time out there and taken a breath.
It was their own fault. But when he's playing where the only thing stopping him is them, like, okay, let's go score for score, Titans. Like, I would love to boat race with you all night. Let's go. Like, you're not worried. And then the defense plays suffocating. But Josh Allen, flowers all night long. It's hard for other players, though. Because there's like a lot of other players that have great games here, and Diggs is one we'll talk about here in a second. But Josh Allen takes away some of that shine every week the way he's playing.
He's going to get an unbelievable amount of credit no matter what, and it is what it is. But you talk about it, you hear why Von Miller came to this team, why Stefon Diggs is playing that way. Like, it's a package deal. They understand that why they're successful the way that they are. And we appreciate Black Dragonfly. Appreciate you. It's very generous. This is
very
awesome.
Generous.
Really appreciate it. And
thanks, man.
Going through before we switch over to the run game here, it really is. People joke about the cliche of pick your poison and like saying that thing. Josh has literally done that now where like teams are playing this too high shell and not letting you take deep shots. And he says, okay. And he will just slice and dice you over and over again until inevitably you come up a little bit. And then the second that you come up, boom, he hits you over the top for one of those deep shots. And he just lulls you into coming up. And it's like a Venus flytrap. Like, he lets you just get closer and closer. No, there's nothing to worry about here. Don't worry about it. And then boom, smacks closed and just crushes it when he's there. So it's unbelievable. And great reminder from our man Mike Thomas here. The Slack channel was awesome tonight. Best way to celebrate. And you want to help us out, there's 2 ways you can help us out tonight. One of them is signing up for the Cover One Pass, become an insider. And the second one is free. You can just hit the like button. The reason this one costs $57 is because we're going to win Super Bowl 57. And that's our special discount for you guys, is to do that. So one, stop what you're doing right now, listening to there's like 770 people listening on YouTube right now. Stop and hit the like button. It really
thank you to all of you too.
We appreciate you very, very much. And then everybody else, if you're curious how we do these awesome things and look up all these things on Next Gen Stats and Sports Info Solutions and get informed for you guys, it's because
all those writers, all the writers
on the website with fantastic content. You guys pay for that through our One Pass. So make sure you check it out. It's in the show's description link. Make sure you check it out. It really, really helps us.
Yeah. The other thing on Josh here before we switch over to running backs is you talked about that ability to lull you into sleep, but like, he's really reached a point where I think going into any game, teams are kind of, let's keep this guy contained, right? Let's not let him get out of the pocket and make these big plays. And he even is willing to sit in the pocket and take that. Like if you're going to play some contain, he will take that and pick it apart. He's gotten to the point. That's why I keep saying he's sort of unlocked the game, where you look at, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I go back at this last 6 games and I'm trying to find a way, like, what am I going to throw at Josh Allen that's going to really slow this team down and contain him? It's not going to be anything philosophically that he hasn't seen over the last 6 games. And so he's really unlocked this ability to take away the things that suit him. You want to take away the run game, fine. He'll like pick you apart. If you want to take that away, his ability to pick you apart, like he's going to make you come up and challenge him physically at the run. So it really is a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare right now. How long it's sustainable, I don't know. That maybe that is my only worry is, Louis Riddick, as I was getting in here for the show, talked about like, this is a team that is peaking. And I was like, oh, I hope not. Like, I don't want to peak now. I want this team in January, February. So let's see how long it's sustainable can be. Because if it goes like this all season, Craig, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But
it's unbelievable. Yeah. And to be able to see it the way that he's going, to let that continue to build and to snowball. And we did it tonight with like 3 key people not playing and had a couple others go out early. So
hats off to Dorsey too. We'll talk about this with some of the position group stuff, but some of the personnel packages he put out there, fantastic night for him.
Yeah, incredible. So let's flip over here now to the running backs. And I think that it was kind of hard to judge because the run to pass ratio before we went into the entire fourth quarter of 4-minute zone, it was 39 called runs to 9 called, or 39 called passes to 9 called runs. One of them was the Josh Allen scramble. So 39 to 9, that's more than 80%. We were more than 80% pass and running into the teeth of that, Titans defense with Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry and Rashad Weaver and the big power that they have up front is a losing proposition. But to see us lean 80-20 pass was unbelievable to see. So, for one, everybody who was wondering, oh, did Sean McDermott, only promote internally so he had more control over the offense and wanted to be conservative? No. We're more pass happy than we were before with Daboll.
3 4th downs too. Then we've heard on 4th down 3 times. Like we weren't sure if we were going to see the punter tonight. So this idea that the Bills or Sean McDermott is some like conservative old school coach is just, I can't believe that thing is maybe even a narrative that still exists. Crazy to me.
So along with those lines, there wasn't a ton to see. The final stat line will look like 24 carries for 101 yards at 4.2 yards a carry, which 3 of those were actually the kneel downs at the end of the game. So it actually would have looked a little bit better than that without the kneel downs. But this running game just wasn't a factor tonight because it didn't mean.
And there was a long, that 33-yard James Cook run was in the middle of no time at all. Yeah, it wasn't a factor at all in this
Singletary
game.
and Moss each had one solid run when the game counted.
Yes. And the Moss had a nice strong run. So I mean, some factor to it, but not really much in the passing game either, right? Two receptions for Singletary, but not much for yardage. Couldn't really get anything going. Gilliam, somebody said it in the chat here. Not sure where we want to talk about Gilliam in terms of whether we're talking about him with running backs or tight ends when we bring him up this year, but out of the in the passing game, at least, what a weapon athletically that to get something.
That wheel route was almost awesome.
Yeah, it was almost huge. And I asked Eric, I didn't get to see, was that the same DeMarco play? Were you guys watching? Was that like the same thing as the DeMarco play?
Yeah, we couldn't see all the way on how the leak out happened, if it was just a straight wheel route or if it was an out and up. But it was awesome.
He's going to hit that one of these times.
Oh yeah,
Allen's going to hit that big one.
So
but I will say, this running back, the conversation that's going to be all the week about this, Greg, it's coming, is going to be like, I tweeted out during the show or during the game, like how many more 0 to 1 yard runs is Bills Mafia going to tolerate from Zach Moss coming out there, when even the Singletary 1 yard runs just look better, right? Like he's making a guy miss in the backfield and then getting a 2 to 3 yard run. Like it's just simple stuff where it just doesn't look like it's working with Zach Moss. And then to add fuel to the fire, again, I later tweeted, add fuel to the fire, Cook busts off a 33-yard run in garbage time, granted, but it doesn't help the narrative that's going to be all over the conversation about this running back room coming out of this game.
Yeah, and it's, there was one later in the game where Singletary was only like a 2 or 3 yard gain, but he made the guy miss in the backfield. And I said it live there. I'm like, that would have been a 2-yard loss if it was Zach Moss. And
You're right.
Singletary made him miss, and it was a 2-yard gain. But that 4 yards net that he created is the difference between Singletary and Moss, and that he can simply, he can make a guy miss and he can create just enough of it. And if Cook shows there, maybe that is one more roster spot that we can net out, and that's just one less spot,
especially without some of these
there.
Potential injuries and some of the stuff we're gonna have to shift around.
I'd rather have that 9th defensive lineman. I'd rather have that 7th cornerback. I'd rather have an extra guy at another spot rather than just adding.
Corner might be looking real thin, real fast. So you're gonna have some tough decisions to make.
Yeah. So why don't you lead us into, what you saw with these wide receivers and tight ends?
Oh my God. We're going to, dude, I don't know if you want me to lead into this tonight because Stefon Diggs, what a fantastic night for this man.
12 for 104. 12 catches for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns.
12 catches, 14 targets, a 46-yard touchdown, 3 touchdowns, just absolutely dominant. Like, this is just silly football. The Elena from ESPN here, the Buffalo Reporter, I forget what her tweet was, but it was like the first time since Steve Smith in 2007 where receivers had this many yards and touchdowns in the first 2 games of a season. Like, part of why Josh Allen has played the way he has this last 6 games, like I said, this relationship has just unlocked to a new level of quarterback chemistry. And Gabe Davis isn't playing in this game, and I think a lot of people were worried about going into this game. Like, what does that mean for the boundary? Are they going to be able to take Diggs away? Like, I think Josh Allen is unschemable, and in that same way, I think Stefon Diggs is unschemable. I don't think there's bracket coverage that can deal with him. I don't think there's any type of zone defense that can deal with him man to man.
Well, look how
nobody in the league's touching him there.
How many of those plays were just free yards because the cornerback was so petrified and giving him ridiculous cushion that Josh was like, okay, we'll take free yards.
Yeah.
All right.
Tonight, I said it early on, he was wearing that chain, really fancy, just lots of diamonds. And I said, Diggs is going to go off tonight. He came to make some big plays. Like, he's one of those guys that when he gets a little extra, dresses a little extra, he's about to have a special night. And you saw it. And even the way he was attacking after he get the ball in his hands, and usually Diggs will make like a move or something and get down. He wanted all the contact tonight. Every single time he was going for it. The dog that's inside of him is out like another level this year. And that's pretty terrifying because last year the production dipped a little bit and it was still a crazy, great, fantastic.
He dipped all the way back to like 102 catches for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. But when you lead the NFL at 120 with 1,500 yards, people are like, oh man, you regressed. Well, he's back on that,
he's back to that 2020, peak 2020,
Ooh.
him and Allen. And I'll tell you, we've talked about him. I don't think he gets enough respect for being in this top 3 of the league with Kupp and Adams. He's right there with those guys. And if he plays and extends this type of play that he's had this year, man, it's undoubted. Like he is with those guys. It's just completely unguardable. If he's one-on-one, the ball's going their way.
Yeah. We always appreciate John's support here, and make sure you check it out. We are going to have one of our favorite Dolphins guys on Wednesday night to preview what is now a huge matchup with the 2-2-0, 2 of the top teams in the AFC ready to rock next week.
Twitter's going to be nasty. Stay safe out there, folks. It's going to be nasty this week.
A lot of fun. So we appreciate you, John, and we will be talking about that game Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I do want to give some respect here to our offensive line. I was nervous about that this week, and I thought that there was a opportunity where if they were going to be competitive and we're going to make a statement, it was going to be with Jeffrey Simmons dominating this game and taking control of things. Honest to God, do you for sure remember watching Jeffrey Simmons play tonight?
No, I mean,
a handful of rushes where I noticed who was blocking him.
I think there was a couple rushes where like in some interior pressure caused other things to happen, but not in the ways that you would expect, similar to the performance they had against Aaron Donald. Like not in the ways you expect those guys to perform. I mean, this is tops in the league, and the Bills are going to go up against a number of guys this year, even within the division. And this type of test, I think, is good. And I don't know how they'll grade out. And I always struggle to kind of have that live reaction of the offensive line. But you're right. Guys like that not making plays is probably an indicator that it held up pretty well. And if you can do that, man, against the really back-to-back weeks against the two best in the NFL.
Honestly, the two best defensive tackles in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good indicator of what you're going to have going forward. I did see Bud Dupree, man. It looked pretty fantastic a couple of times, and nothing
had that one rep that he walked back Dawkins real bad.
But Dawkins was pretty good, but that guy still has plenty of juice left. If they still had Landry and had Weaver rotating in, like that could have been much more dangerous. I do think that Landry injury is just probably too much for the Titans to sustain this year. They don't have the depth to have a good solid.
Rashad Weaver's a fine rotational guy.
Exactly.
They just don't have the additional.
He's not ready yet
to be able to do it.
No, and that might be hurting Simmons' game a little bit too, that they're not at full strength. But yeah, I'm interested to watch that back or see people that kind of report more on the offensive line to watch that back a little bit, because that's back-to-back weeks now where something they're doing is isolating interior pass rush and stopping it against the best in the league.
Yeah, it's exactly the spot we want to be in. So, diving in here, our first sponsored segment here is going to be our West Herr drive of the game. I think I went first last time, so or you went first last time.
I think I did, but you could trick me any week you want.
I did. I gave you the choice, and you said you were going to go first. So it's really hard because we scored a lot. And there were a lot of different ones. Yeah. I'm going to go with the drive coming out of the half. We get the stop.
Okay.
They go, 7 plays, 80 yards. And at that point, 17-7, it was still very much a game. And that, we were nervous that, hey, we weren't able to go down, and, they had the potential for the double dip. The defense was great and did not give that up. Ended up, coming out, get the quick 3 and out with the awesome Gregory Rousseau sack before the end of the half. And then coming out in the second half, they get the quick stop, get the ball right back, and put up the score that really, for all intents and purposes, a team like Tennessee probably put it away. They weren't coming back from 17 realistically.
Right.
But, to go that route, I thought that really kind of took control of where the situation was.
I went with the defensive drive of the first drive of the half, that 5-play, 20-yard, 2-minute drive by the Titans. That was the opportunity for the Titans to hang in that game, right? Like, they went all in on deferring to the Bills, which is a ballsy move to give Josh Allen the ball in Buffalo on prime time and say, like, okay, you go score. You're essentially saying go score first. We're going to keep this close enough to make this a second half game. And we want the ball to start the second half. That's essentially what you're betting on. Like, the Bills are probably going to score if they get the ball first, right? And so they bet all in on that. And what you're betting on is coming out of that second half with your scripted plays and being able to get back into the end zone, which they were able to do on their first drive, right?
Yes, they answered. They answered in their scripted plays.
Yeah, but in the second half, they weren't able to, right? 5 plays, 20 yards. Poyer came up, had a nice big play. It wasn't anything spectacular by the defense, but it was quick. They got that 1 first down, and they got the ball right back to Josh Allen, and then the floodgates open. And I said that. I said, right after that drive, then I said, get a stop, get another scoring party, but it was essential on that first stop out of the half. You got to come out of the half strong. And in the McDermott era, there's been some questions, especially early in the season, how they've come out of half and how they've responded to half times. And so far this year,
unbelievable,
incredible responses and incredible adjustments and stuff, because they have really just opened up the floodgates out of halves. These games have been close going into halves, and they just open it up. And really, in this game, it was all just open up in that third quarter. Like, we didn't even see Josh and Diggs in that fourth quarter at all. So in that late second half, fourth quarter, went off for what? It was 34 unanswered points in the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was unbelievable in the way that they, struck back. I think the second half ended up being 24-0 in the third quarter, 24-0. So being able to pour it on the way that they did, that's now back-to-back games where it's 45-0 in the second half. And being able to have that kind of dominant one. I'll also give a shout out that last drive, the Bills had the ball in the first half where it's 10-7. They just got the ball back. They'd only got a field goal the drive before. Still very much a close game where you're kind of in control, but it's not necessarily dominant. And that drive really kind of showed quite a bit. There was a lot. That was the one where there was like several in a row to Diggs, where he was able to go. He had the deep shot up the sideline that they
got
set up
him.
to Kumaro.
The Bills got him with the 4th and 1 timeout thing, but McDermott called the timeout.
Yes, yeah,
It was
had
like that. Oh,
Simmons
you had
down there.
him, and then they called the timeout.
Yeah,
Still
it
ended up
was
getting
so
the
close.
touchdown.
Yeah, I ended up getting it on the next play anyways. But that drive, going for it on 4th down, that was a smart decision, because being up 3 and being up 6 just is no difference.
I mean,
so going for it there was the right decision. That was a good drive as well.
Is that because that was my next segment?
Okay, yeah, let's switch right over and we'll do our friends over at Uncle Jumbo's our responsible play of the game. Why don't you go ahead with that one?
Yeah, it was really just in general the aggressive nature of Sean McDermott and going for it more on 4th downs. I think we saw, this past week, the Chargers kind of, or the past couple of weeks here with the Chargers, the way they've sort of regressed in that. And I think there's this idea, we alluded to it earlier, that Sean McDermott's some like old school retro coach that doesn't believe in analytics, even though before this game, I forget who tweeted out, I'm the worst at remembering these tweets, but somebody had tweeted out that the Bills had like 6 seats saved for their analytics department in the press box or something like that, and the Titans had 1 seat saved. Like, this organization believes in these things. They believe in modern progressive football. It shows in the stats that you talk about, like the 80% neutral passing rate. It shows in these other stats.
Bajillion 1st down play action passes.
Yes. Yeah. It shows that they are on top of the trends that matter in the NFL, and they bring those plans into their game plan, and they're using it real-time data. The analytics matter to them, and they're on top of, they're probably, when the season's done, again, he'll be one of the most aggressive coaches. They'll be on the right side of most of these decisions. And so overall, I think that's the responsible play of the game, that this coaching staff is one of the more aggressive coaches in the league when it comes to this stuff.
Love it. And I'm going to lean into the responsible play of the game being, going to the backups and being able to get guys out of the game. Yeah. They got to a point where, obviously I think this team, the Tennessee, also did the same thing, which helped. But I was nervous in that stretch in the 3rd quarter where they're going up being like, hey, we saw a lot of historic comebacks this week. We saw a lot of teams take their foot off the gas.
McDermott hasn't always gone into the bench when he's ready, like when everyone else wants him to either.
Yeah, so this was really good in their ability to kind of pivot and manage the approach to the game, get guys out of the game. Obviously, we'll get into the injuries here at the end, and a lot of those coming up on defense here. We need to make sure that we're prepared for how they did that. But I thought that was smart, getting guys out of the game. I was happy, even though I wouldn't have minded Josh running up the score a little bit more. It was still great. I was happy that he didn't go back in the game and that he was out of there safe and sound.
I am happy he didn't go back in the game, but it's one of these small things, years. I'm going off topic a little bit here, but this is one of those things for years I've debated with like analytics community. And I come off in analytics when I like bring up a point like this, like, okay, like Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs just sat the whole 4th quarter of a game that they were totally unstoppable. Like in Madden universe, you could have gone out and probably got like 400 and something yards and another touchdown with those guys if they just put the pedal to the metal. And that's part of a sample size, right? So like at the end of the year, when we look at yardage statistics and things like that, it's like, okay, well, like there's a good chance Josh Allen doesn't play a lot of 4th quarter football if the team's boat racing teams like this year. Like, how do you put that into some of the analytics? I know there's advanced analytics out there beyond this, but I'm always saying like the simple ones like yardage and things like that. A game like this shows you like Josh could have gone off for 400 yards in this game if he kept his foot on the gas, but there was no need to.
He could have gone for the 6 touchdowns to be able to top Tua. We didn't need to do that because you
need a team to put like at least 3-4 scores on the board to can allow him to continue to play a game like that where there's some competitive nature in the second half.
Yeah. As we flip over to the defensive side of the ball, this defensive line, we didn't even have Ed Oliver and Tim Settle, and they were still dominant.
It was good.
Dominant in there all the time. I think this might have been the best game we've seen from Gregory Rousseau. I thought he was fantastic. 2 tackles for a loss, another quarterback hit, a sack. The play that Matt Milano ended up planting Malik Willis was because of Gregory Rousseau playing that perfectly against the run. Jordan Phillips, obviously really hoping that we don't see anything serious with his hamstring. He got, you saw him pull up when he was running with Milano on the touchdown return.
Tagged us in that before we got on here. I barely got to see it. It sucks.
It is what it is. He was hustling hustling, trying to keep up with his guy running for the touchdown. So obviously hoping that's nothing too serious, but he did pull up pretty good. Looked like he got shot in the back of the leg there. So you don't love to see that. But ultimately, Daquan Jones was all over the place. Carlos Basham, I saw flash several times. Sean, appreciate you signed up for
one pass member. Join
right.
Sean. Get in
That's
here,
right.
guys.
Get in there. And again, this one was really one of the best games to show the actual domino effect of Von Miller, where the stat line is going to try to tell you he had one tackle. It was a tackle for a loss and a pass defense. He was in there swiping at that ball and coming around the corner over and over and over again, at least 5 pressures. Really strong game that way.
Yeah, his pressures will be up there. And to your point, just the impact of him and the ripple that it's had on Gregory Rousseau. I'll admit this. I thought the media was overselling a little bit the clips all through training camp of Groot and Vaughn talking every time they're talking. It's like, okay, we've seen that. Like some old guy comes in and teaches the young guy, right? But you see an impact in the way Groot's playing. Like I've questioned some of the hype on Groot. I think that he can be at worst a very good run defender in the league and a guy that sets the edge. But he really flashes, dude. Like, and when he's going,
translating his length and power interior,
the physical way when he wins a play, there's not a lot of guys that have the physicality that he does, and that length and that size and the thickness that he has. Like, it's pretty tough in those rush lanes. And when he gets coming up with a full head of steam in the pass and pass rush, like this kid could be pretty special, and you see it. And so now I'm excited to see Vaughn have his hands with him and have him in the film room, because you're starting to see that translate. And I think the Bills will hand more and more over to Groot as he has games like this to be the guy. And this is what we've needed out of one of those guys, whether it was, I didn't care which pick it was, whether it was Epinesa, Groot, or Basham. We needed somebody show flashes that they were going to be a guy long-term at this spot. So I'm real happy with how that's shaken out.
Absolutely. And here Davis talking about it, holding Derrick Henry to 2 yards a carry. And I wanted to bring this up too when we get to the linebackers as well. But that's a great transition for us, because I thought this was possibly one of the best games we've seen from this linebacker crew.
Yes.
You talked about wanting to see the flash plays. Tremaine Edmunds had that tip that caused the Jordan Poyer interception, had that killer tackle for a loss, that awesome blitz for a sack, and then Matt Milano obviously had the pick six, and almost,
of course, Matt Milano always up splashes.
Got to have a pick six on one of Tremaine Edmunds' best games. And he almost had back-to-back interceptions. He almost had another interception on the next play.
Malik Willis right there. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. To that point you brought up and segued this into the linebacker conversation. One of the things that drives me nuts is a overblown media in the narrative. And what more overblown narrative has there been about these two teams and the recent history of these two teams than that Derrick Henry somehow owns the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott in this defense, and that he is somehow like a massive threat that can dethrone this team. He has not performed well against the Buffalo Bills. He had one gigantic run last year that was questionable. We debated it on this postgame show.
Good, like 3 different holds.
Yeah, and outside of that, they pretty much contained him, to be honest. And today they did a great job. Or tonight here, Monday night, they did a great job. The linebackers were flying around the ball tonight. Absolutely great game, stellar game. I wish weekly we had somebody to give us graphics for like a weekly Edmunds stock meter of how much his value. But a game like today, that value's going up after him. If I was in the Tremaine Edmunds stock market, that market is doing well tonight. Like, that's a good game against the defense. So you have to have good linebacker play to play against.
Absolutely. And it's the exact kind of game we wanted to see. We needed to see flashes like this. We needed to see flashes with good decision making from Edmunds. And it was him reading when to blitz, him reading where those plays were, not getting caught up in blocks, making those big plays. That's exactly the way that we wanted it to show, and that we always knew Milano was going to be capable of those kind of things. But seeing the two of them do it, and that's a domino effect from this, combination of being able to approach the game. Here I want to bring up Padden.
Padden says this.
Poyer said he texted Micah and Dane. Dane said that both of they're all right. So obviously,
so not official news, but
correct. But
that at least amongst friends are telling each other they're good. So.
Absolutely great to hear. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a short week, and we'll talk about this to end here, but that is good to hear on a short turnaround here this week.
How about the secondary? Put in a
Yeah,
tough
let's talk
spot.
about it.
And obviously a horrifically scary spot. You had friendly fire. Tremaine Edmunds at full speed coming in, thinking he's going to hit Treylon Burks. Burks
Yeah.
ducks down.
Happens almost every play.
You
Somebody's
know,
coming
it,
in. It's
it's
questionably late. Like you don't. It's all bang bang in the moment. The way
yeah.
these guys are.
Trying to stop any extra yardage. He was trying to fight for extra, ends up, dipping or, Burks dips under, hits, Dane, bends back real bad.
Yeah, real tough. Yeah.
It's very scary. They bring out the
Uh,
ambulance and approaching him there, and obviously we're going to
Shame on
pivot
the
over.
broadcast for two. They showed that probably like 3 or 4 times too many
Yeah.
times on the replay. Like somebody in the
Yeah.
booth should have. The first time I saw that was enough times of
I
seeing
agree.
the injury, and they could have gone away from that one. I wish they would have done a little bit better. I didn't say that. That was a tough injury. That's a tough part of being a fan about this game of
Or if
what
they
kind
were
of
going
injuries
to
can happen.
re-show something like a weird spot, Hassan Haskins afterwards thought that he was sitting on the ball. I don't want to, like, Haskins didn't know he was hurt, but
No.
like pushes his head and like
Yeah.
rolls him over getting off there. And when you have a neck injury, that could have been
The
really
league's
scary.
got I don't think the intent was there to
Correct. It
do
wasn't.
harm.
I don't
think
think
he
he was.
understood the severity of the potential injury. We don't know still the injury there. But I do think the league should probably use that opportunity to prioritize with the players of like, hey, if a guy is down, like really, you got to not touch him, because it looks like maybe he's going to avoid anything crazy, major, long term. But if it was a very serious spinal injury, I'm not a doctor, but like those can be the
That can
differences.
be horrible.
The differences in how you recover from something, right? And so I do think they'll probably use that. I think if the league's smart, they'll use that as an opportunity to say, hey, like if a guy's down, just stay away, right?
Yeah. So pivoting over, obviously prayers to him, hoping that things go as well as they possibly can. It does sound like
And
from
has
the
been playing
message.
good football this year too, like
Yeah.
having a good game here.
That obviously put us in a position where Christian Benford and Keir Elam were in the entire game. And, I think they both flashed specifically in run defense. This wasn't a team that was really going to threaten them in pass defense all that much. But they both came up, looked great in run defense and made plays. Like Elam swatted a ball away, looked really, really good. I thought they both had a really, really positive game. I was really happy to see where they approach it. And, Chris here with the same comment saying in the post-game press conference, saying that Hyde and Dane both said they're all right. So confirming that information as well.
Love to hear. Yeah. I'm looking through my notes. This is one of probably the hardest parts about doing a live post-game reaction show, is like remembering specific plays sometimes. But Benford had a one-run play where he got contained perfectly, leveraged the wide receiver trying to block him, and just rode him all the way to the outside and closed where the running back could go, and then came up and made a really solid tackle right along the sideline. And it was absolute textbook. Exactly how the cornerback's supposed to seal off that edge, and did it exactly. And this is talking about Derrick Henry. Like he came up and made a tackle on Derrick Henry after shedding a blocker, and I was blown away. Yeah, it's one of those plays that like I wrote it down, I'll remember it, but like when you watch in all 22, that's the kind you like go back and watch a few times. Like, and I wish that I would have during the live broadcast. A great play. Elam had one too, where he came up and made a great play in the run game. I'm glad that you brought that up, because in a game like this, it matters. And in a lot of these games that have hurt the Bills in the past, that type of defense from cornerbacks matters, whether it's in the run game or in the short passing game of coming up, making tackles and being a sound tackler and not allowing it to get past that level and allow for explosive plays. Toxic differential. We didn't even talk about this yet. Toxic differential in this game, Greg. The Bills outscored the Titans in toxic differential. The toxic differential was 8-0. The Titans got 0 20-yard plays. I don't even know. I didn't go through the 10-yard rushes because I don't break that down during the game. I don't even think they got a toxic run versus
their long was 9.
Yeah,
their long was 9.
Nothing. They got nothing. Absolute unbelievable job, top to bottom. And it is a lot of that run defense success. Everybody wants to talk about the line and the linebackers, but when you're playing nickel like the Bills do, they put a lot of responsibility on these corners, the slot corner, to come in and make a big play. And we haven't even talked about, we're talking about those guys out on the boundaries. Taron Johnson had another fantastic game as that third linebacker, nickel corner dude. And this will be a game he probably won't get the credit like a Kenny Moore gets for the big splash plays, but his ability to play that cornerback position like a linebacker and run support and not get him out of nickel again, if the Titans aren't going to be the team to do it, I don't know what team is going to get this team out of that personnel package.
Yeah. Cowan with a nice copy. The first scripted drive, 9 plays, 75 yards.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, 44 plays, 112 yards. They ended up with 187 yards. Just an unbelievable performance. 414 yards to 187.
Yeah.
That is incredible domination in a game like this in the NFL.
The league needs to start giving Leslie Frazier some credit. Twitter, we need to start giving Leslie Frazier some credit here.
Yeah.
It's impressive stuff what him and McDermott have done for this amount of time that they've been able to. I don't know how the rest of the season will go, but the way that this defense continuously suffocates offenses, doesn't allow explosives in a modern era where explosives are kind of ruled into the game, and to not allow that to go on. Incredible stuff they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So they went through that draft graphic which showed each of the picks.
I know, I said the same thing to my wife. Yeah,
was phenomenal, showing that the Bills have the most games started by drafted players of any team in the NFL. That's awesome. And a fantastic.
And Taron Johnson wasn't even in the 2018 draft class.
Yeah, that was shame on them to be able to do that. Yeah, hit the like button for Taron Johnson. If you would have put Taron Johnson in the graphic,
fan club.
Hit the like button.
This is the original Taron Johnson fan club podcast.
You are the president of the fan club.
Yeah, we're forever associated with that.
In the final one in the secondary, again, we are so blessed to have Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde as our corner, as our safety.
That tip ball drill was just fun. That was just silly.
Just they passed it to each other to be able to give the ball around.
It was a dude perfect interception or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. But just, having it there, you saw both of them come up in run coverage. You saw both of them, being able to be there. We're not using them on blitzes as much as we have in the past. We don't need to, because we have the guys.
do even more of them now.
Poyer even came up for a tackle for a loss, tipped 2 passes himself. Just an incredible performance, and they make everything go. So obviously hearing that Hyde is okay, it looked like just a stinger, but being able to go, that route was huge to be able to do it. And
I don't want to go into a game against the fastest team in the world without Micah Hyde. So hopefully it's just a stinger.
We need that safety blanket over the top.
Take the rest of the week off, Micah. Go put the red jersey on. Go through walkthroughs.
Get right.
And then get right.
Yeah, get ready for Sunday.
We need you. I love it.
Talking about the special teams, tonight was
what a night.
A sneaky, fantastic special teams.
This is the kind of I always talk about. I don't want to talk about special teams, but tonight, actually looking forward to it, Greg. I'm looking forward. So go.
I honest to God, I need to go back and watch the all 22 to look. Is Sam Martin like a knuckleball punter? I don't understand.
Like it messed with people for sure.
And on the one that he kicked out of our own end zone, that ball was in the air for the weirdest amount of time. It was 2 full beats longer than the natural rhythm you expect.
It had
to see
a fluttering
come down
rotation
and
too.
I just remember being like, oh, there it is. It was a full, it was I won't be shocked if it's 6 seconds of hang time. It was so crazy how long it sat up there. And then to see it fluttering on its way down,
it's fluttering. Yeah.
Did we somehow sneaky get a knuckle punter? I don't understand what he does with the ball. It was crazy. So we had 2 of them muffed. They ended up having to put Robert Woods back there, a third different, because the first 2 muffs were 2 different returners. It was Kyle Phillips and another guy. And that hooker actually was the other one who muffed one. Then they had to switch it and put Robert Woods back there, and he bombed one there that ended up would have been out of bounds at the 10-yard line to be able to do it. The coverage on the kicks were there. He was holding. We got the 2 nice field goals, including both 40-yarders and 5 extra points. So 7 holds for 7 perfect kicks, 3 gorgeous punts with a net average of 48.3, no returns, 2 muffs, great coverage. Jamison Crowder, 4 returns for 40 yards, a 10-yard punt return average. This was an exceptional special teams night, and that's always a sneaky one where people complain about the roster spots they take up. They complain about who's game day active.
Yeah.
I think people forget that Jake Kumro's actually an NFL wide receiver. Also, we saw that tonight. That was a nice reminder that he's not just a special teams player. But even some of the guys who are just special teams players, Saran Neal, Taiwan Jones, Tyler Medikevich, it's for stuff like this. Our special teams units are awesome.
Yeah, even on the one that was muffed and not recovered, like Taiwan Jones was right there to make a play.
Snuck through his legs.
Yeah, it snuck right through his legs. Like this just goes back to the comment that was made in the broadcast. It's going to stick with me all week about this team is so deep. And when you're that deep, you're so disciplined in your football, and you have guys that are so aware at every level of the game that it becomes suffocating, even on special teams. Like you're going to outclass almost every opponent on every rep when you're that deep across all 11 guys that are on the field. And if you do that consistently, you're going to have games like this where it's a total blowout and completely suffocating because the depth of the other team can just not keep up with your team. And you see that when special teams performs in a game like this, the way they did. And hats off to, I don't know what the numbers were per return here, but I think Crowder had like a sneaky good day.
All of them good. 4 for 40 yards. All of them pretty nice 10-yard average. And it was,
I'll take a free first down every punt return.
A 10-yard average when the long was only 15. So it's not like it was bloated with a long one. All of them were good, positive plays.
Give me really that nice all the time.
Yeah. So great coverage, great returning, great holding, automatic, great kicking.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect. It was honestly, it was a perfect special teams night. They gave up no big returns.
Yes.
They had great coverage. They had perfect kicking. They had perfect punting. It was great. It was a perfect special teams night.
Reed Ferguson is going to fire up his grill and celebrate a nice special teams evening.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So, now getting into the finals thing here, coaching, I think just credit across the board. I think, a great aggressive game plan from, Sean McDermott did not take his foot off the gas, but managed it well, getting guys out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive, play calling, Ken Dorsey has changed it up. I tried to tell people that they were only talking like the only alternative was that maybe he could be almost as good as Brian Daboll. Well, what if he's as good or better? What if he's better than Brian Daboll? The way that he's changed things up, the way that he's used, there's a really nice comment up here about how athletic our heavy set defense is or offense is when you have Gilliam, Knox, Morris, Kumaro. Those are athletic guys.
It'd be cooler if they did it without Moss going forward. Added
okay with that.
There was one package where we saw it and it didn't go for it. They ended up giving it to Moss when you had all these big dudes on the field for short yards. And it's like, man, just put Singletary in there if you're going to do this. But then if you are going to have Moss, don't let him be the one that gets the ball in that. Or whatever. I digress.
Yeah, so I'm not all the way ready to say he is better than Daboll, but I think people need to brace themselves for the possibility that what if he is? What if he is better than Daboll and we upgraded at play caller? It's we'll see offense, when he gets. We need to see
the juices
in these critical games.
Yeah, sure. The juice is as juicy as it's ever been under Daboll. Like they're performing at the peak Daboll offensive level.
I want to see it in critical games when he's against Steve Spagnuolo or a really smart defensive coach and seeing the counter moves. I want to see that. But I will say the rhythm and the flow that he keeps the offense in is fantastic. And the way he's gotten Josh comfortable taking a profit is fantastic.
Huge. There was a couple moments where it was like a 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 10 and Josh just takes the 6 yards and then it's a 3rd and 4, right? Like, or whatever it is. And you're getting into a more manageable, that's a new thing for Josh over the last second half of last year and into this year. And I think that is part of what you're seeing in this unbelievable success to keep moving the chains is taking those, but then still having the ability to take that top off the defense when it presents itself. But I think the most impressive thing to me is the personnel usage from Dorsey. And in a game like this, it was probably a very difficult challenge for him late in the week to get a Gabe Davis injury against a Mike Vrabel defense and have to really change some of what you were going to do. Like they didn't know about this until that Friday practice. Like Gabe Davis came up on the injury report late in the week. So this was a over Saturday afternoon. Hey, we're going to change up some things, and these are the personnel packages we're going to roll out. We're going to get guys like Jake Kumaro open for big explosive plays. We're going to get a Gilliam involved in this offense. Like, we're going to get some other guys in this personnel. Quentin Morris got some action in there. And nobody else besides Diggs had a big game, but a lot of people contributed. Targets went around, and some big plays came from other players in this game. And that is kudos to Dorsey taking an adverse situation and turning it into this type of offensive performance. So that gives me a lot of faith that he can on the fly take something that's not a great situation to lose a Gabe Davis and turn that into a performance like we saw. Granted, Titans had some also injuries that they had to deal with in the secondary and things like that. But Vrabel still puts it. I mean, we said it all week, Greg, that he's going to put together a disciplined, well-coached team, physical team. Like it's hard to hang 40 on a team like that.
Yeah. Well, Titans fan in here saying we'll see in the playoffs. God, I hope so.
0-2 is not great.
That would be
it's
awesome.
Not a great start.
I really hope we see you guys in the playoffs. That would be great.
Yeah, I do think if a team's going to start 0-2 and still make the playoffs, they're going to do it in the AFC South.
Yeah, that's a terrible division. The 8 and 9 might make the playoffs in that division.
So they could definitely still be there. But I do think what statistics, I don't know the exact statistics, but those 0-2 teams have a tough time, a big hole to crawl out of.
Yeah, and James Cook had more rushing yards than Travis Henry. You always love to see that, or Derrick Henry. You always love to see that. I will say if there's any things to nitpick, I think your Zach Moss one is accurate. I will say the two young guys, I don't know that James Cook or Khalil Shakir came off super well. Shakir, you could tell, was not ready where to be in some of those spots. Couple things like that. The young guys, but like you said, didn't get
Kumaro though stepping in
reps. Yeah, Kumaro looked great going into those, but
good for him.
The young guys, I didn't think the two rookies looked particularly good in those scenarios, but the defensive rookies, Benford and Elam, look great. So some balance from that direction. But and I will say I do like that James Cook got those 11 carries later on, just good reps to get into the flow of things and being able to. He did break off that one nice one, but I didn't think Cook or Shakir looked fantastic for that. They look like rookies.
Yeah, they did. It puts some things into perspective, right? Which is what we're sort of trying to do on this show. I think maybe I bit on the Shakir stuff a little bit, that he could just be like a plug and play guy, and maybe he still can, but definitely did not show that in his first showing so far. So we'll see. Hopefully that's not something that we have to deal with long term, and that Gabe just didn't have enough time with the turnaround on Monday, and that he'll be fine to go forward here up against the next couple of tough games coming ahead.
Yeah, and I will say I agree. Benford has been a gem. I don't feel bad for Shakir. Shakir played great. Shakir played really well tonight and played good reps, and is going to be an important part of this team too.
Absolutely.
We just also hit on a 6th round gem that's also great. Like, that's a nice problem to have. But
and at some point they could
played well.
Yeah, one or the other could still separate from each other too. Like, as it's still, this might also be a little bit, Greg, the thing that we talk about with Milano and Edmunds, where they're actually both probably similar and playing at a similar level, but the expectations, because of where they were drafted, totally lopsided. And so I think we assume Benford is better because he was drafted later, and that we weren't expecting it, and we were expecting it of Elam, and maybe that Elam would just run away from the job. But I think, at some point one of them might pull away from the other. But worst case scenario, I think you have two guys where their floors are adequate starting cornerbacks in the NFL. I think that 2 games into this, I think they can hang in the NFL as starting cornerbacks and a defensive scheme like this. So that is a huge win for a draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting more contributors from that standpoint is fantastic. Yeah. So,
and Elam will take a longer time, I think. What was that comment about Elam? I think he will take a longer time to figure out some of the off coverage stuff. Like, that's a 2 or 3 year project where he really gets this defense. I think it took Trey like a couple of years even.
Absolutely. So, guys, it's been a fantastic night, and things are going well when we got haters coming in the chat trying to.
Haters are welcome too. It's clicks are clicks, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys watching the show.
Just click the like, don't
the comments. We appreciate you guys very, very much, and congratulations, you get to watch our team too. We enjoy it a lot.
Yes.
You have to hate watch it.
3 more primetime games.
Yeah, more than that actually. I think that there's multiple. You're going to get to watch a lot of Buffalo.
Plus all those playoff ones. Yes.
Yeah, all the playoff games are going to be multiple of those. So congratulations, you're going to enjoy those a lot.
It's actually really nice for all of football fans. I said that I was talking to a friend today. Like, all the bad quarterback play we saw this past Sunday, like, it was a blessing to the league that Josh Allen was able to play tonight and to show everybody what really good quarterback play would look like again.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But this is it, guys. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a huge game this week against Miami. There was an awesome comeback they had against Baltimore.
Yep.
We're going to have Tom Ernestine from Dolphins Talk on Wednesday night.
Talking to him.
This is going to be a huge matchup to be able to go through and kind of get ready for. So, it's going to be a ton of fun to be able to get this together and to be able to go through this kind of matchup. This is what we wanted. We wanted there to be, excitement in here. It hasn't been a rivalry because the Bills have smoked the Dolphins 7 straight, and there hasn't been much to the rivalry side of it, but they're off to a hot start. They've got a lot of good weapons. There's going to be a lot of discussion. I know listening to the Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal podcast, they had that picked as the marquee matchup of the week.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of eyeballs. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game of Buffalo versus Miami. On
McDaniels is a mad scientist, genius, monster.
Seems like it.
That's what they're all saying. There's going to be a lot of talk.
Yeah.
This week. I don't know if the game will be as big as it's going to get billed as, but I'm here for the hype, and I think that everybody should watch our show on Wednesday and get billed and hyped up for it.
You should also be excited about that build up and that matchup and come watch us talk about it.
I think that there's a lot to talk about here because you're right. It hasn't been a rivalry, and I don't know that if there is going to be one, it's coming out of Miami in this AFC East. If there's anyone that's going to be kind of annoyingly nipping at the heels, and it really starts with this game. If the Bills come out and do work on the Miami Dolphins, there really isn't going to be much in the AFC East. But if that's a competitive game, or even the Dolphins are able to sneak out a win, like the AFC East gets really annoyingly difficult for the year. So definitely a big one that they got to come in and take care of business on a short week, man, with a lot of injuries piling up here that we're gonna have to settle out over the next 2 days.
Yeah, short week, injuries down in Miami in September. That's never easy. That's a hostile environment, super hot and humid and crazy.
Hostile from they live in the jungle, but
correct, not fans. There's I think
and if there are a bunch of fans there, you can take them out in a quarter and a half.
Yeah, that's their fans are not real, but the team has some speed. I am legitimately petrified of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We'll see if the rest of the roster can do what they need to. Any final thoughts? Aaron, this is fun. We're now just having basically celebration parties in our post.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, this is going to be a fun season for us.
Yeah, this is just so much fun.
Yeah, I think my final thought is that I think I've shed my final last skin of the drought. There was still a little bit of me that hung on of you're meeting up against a team like the Titans, who's a good football program, well coached, physical, all those things that okay, well, maybe this will, bring us back and humble us a little bit, or maybe it's going to be a tighter game than I'm expecting it to be. And, old me, if you go back and watch the old shows, my picks were all tight. I respect other NFL teams. I respect this game. The ideas that most NFL games are 1-score games. These are all real things. And I think after this victory against I do think all those things about the Titans are still true. They are a great team that are a great football program that is going to challenge a lot of good teams. The Bills just boat raced them with depth and suffocated them completely in this game. And so I think I shed the final skin of the drought in that I can feel comfortable going into games thinking my team's going to win by double-digit margins, and that's okay. And that's not homerish of me, and that's a realistic thing that I think they will win most of their games in blowout fashion, which blowout fashion in the league is 2-score wins. I think that's going to be the case in most of these things. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around a little bit as a 20 years of being a drought fan. But I think I finally shed that skin that I can feel confident that they can win games like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was crazy. And Jay here, I think, has been a pretty respectful Titans fan who's been in the chat here.
Yeah.
That was crazy. The fact that backups were in the game in the third quarter really spoke to how out of hand this game got. And I don't know if that's exactly what's there. I do think it's going to be interesting to see if the Titans turn to Malik Willis earlier this season than maybe what they had planned on. And
if it's 1-3.
Yeah, you start asking questions, at some point here. But I think that the Titans are still an okay team, and I think that there's still some talent on that defense. And the fact that they put it on them 41-7 in the third quarter before they called the dogs off here, man, that was we really might be in for a special season. And that, again, I've said it over and over again, this is the best roster in the NFL.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win every single game. It doesn't mean you're going to go undefeated. It doesn't mean they're going to give you the Super Bowl. You still have to go out there and do those things. What it does mean is you should win every single game. The Bills should win every game. And the going into each game, and what Aaron and I are going to predict, I'm going to pick the Bills every game.
Yeah.
And that's not being a crazy homer. It's just that, well, we have the best team in the NFL. So no matter who we're playing, we should win.
Yeah.
And that's a fun just status to have. That's a fun sense of being to have, is that, oh, we get to root for the best team in the NFL every single week. You get to root for the best team in the NFL. Don't lose that.
It's so cool. A buddy of mine, New England fan, this week, I called him because my chat with those guys was like, the Patriots won. They're all New England fans. Patriots won. And they're like, oh, we're going to be fine. Belichick's the GM. We're going to be fine. And I called him up and I said, I'm really sorry because I'm embarrassed of myself. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm embarrassed I sounded just like you for 17 years. And in September, I'd call you up and be like, Fitzpatrick's fine. We're going to win 9-10 games and get sneak into the playoffs and make a run at the Super Bowl. Like, now we are not, like, those are those guys now. And we are now the guys at the top that are sitting through fourth quarters where nobody's playing and just gloating, texting back and forth with our friends. Like, I want many more games like the experience that I had tonight of just smiles, high fives with my kids. My kids got to watch like an hour and a half of this game tonight, like smiles with the kids. Yeah, just an all-out party in the fourth quarter. Like, sign me up for that over and over again.
Yeah. This is where there's going to be, now every game won't be like this, but there's going to be a lot more like this.
Prove it, Greg.
I can't
remember games that were. Well,
I don't remember.
The KC game is close. I do remember that one.
How close games work? I don't remember that. But all right, guys, we appreciate you so much. Again, help us out. Give us a like. It really goes a long ways. Like this, comment, give us a review, tell other people about it. Come and check out the Cover One Pass. That really help us out. We really appreciate you guys. This is the best way to be able to help and support us. Join as a One Pass member. The Slack channel is awesome during game days. It's just the most fun place to be able to watch games, to be able to hang out and listen to everything that's going on and talk back and forth with Bills fans. All kinds of cool channels that are in there. And I know more stuff that you like, Aaron.
Yeah, I am all about the exclusive members only content. The team that we've put together here this off season that is pushing out content, like, it is fantastic each and every week. It's like, for years I've been working for Cover One, but I think this year more than any other year, it's actually been crucial in getting ready for these next games this week and reading all the content that people are coming out. And a lot of that, you have to be a Cover One premium member. I'm excited to get my hands on this shirt. I saw Mike was texting us that the shirts and decals are going out. I can't wait to get my hands on this shirt. So if you already signed up for One Pass, that is going to be in the mail here soon and get on its way out to you guys. And if you haven't signed up, get in on it because it's cool. You're only going to get this decal, this shirt this year. And it's going to be a new one every year. So make sure you get in on this first year. That's also something that we probably didn't tell people enough about, is that's the inaugural year. So you're going to be, in 10 years when we're here, you're going to have that original Cover One Pass one, and it'll be worth something maybe someday, Greg. Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe we'll be famous someday.
Maybe I'm overselling us a little bit, but the point is, sign up for One Pass. You never know. It could be an investment in your child's future.
It would mean a lot to me, and you would let me buy more cool sweatshirts. That's really what I care about. You would help.
I know, the weather's starting to turn. I need to
reinforce. It's almost hoodie sweatshirt weather all the time. It's fantastic. I can't wait.
What a fantastic night in Western New York for football.
Oh, gorgeous.
I was a little nervous. I'm all in on the early primetime kickoff too. I don't need the other game.
7 o'clock. We're wrapping up here. Wrapping up for a post game show at 11:30.
Sun was coming down. Beautiful Western New York sunset. Like that. That's a perfect night for football. So congratulations to everybody in Mother Nature for that. Thanks, Mother Nature.
Yeah, appreciate you guys so much. The chat was awesome tonight. You guys were fantastic. We love it. Soak in all the content that you can. Come on, check everything else we have.
We'll be back in a couple nights.
We're going to be back here in 2 more nights for you, getting ready for this preview of this marquee matchup of the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Love to see that. But on behalf of Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.